My name is Vladimir.
Come again?
My name is Vladimir.
My name is also Vladimir.
I know about this. Hello, okay, I'll wait. Let's talk to your... Is this your wife?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
It's been 6 years already.
6 years. Any children?
Yes, 2 daughters.
Do you give voluntarily consent to the recording and publication of our interview?
Yes, I give.
Why?
I have nothing to hide. I'm always on the side of truth.
You know this is one of the slogans of your SMO, for the truth.
Well, yes.
Do you think there is much truth in this slogan and in this operation?
Well, I don't want to condemn neither Russia or Ukraine. Everyone has their own truth. They simply presented it to us in one format and to Ukraine in another.
Let's talk about it. Are you mobilized?
No, I signed the contract.
Contract.
Yes.
What is your title, position, unit?
I'm a private deputy platoon commander. Taman Division, 1st Tank Regiment.
When were you called? When did you sign the contract?
September 9.
2022?
23.
2023.
Right.
What were you interested in about this war before you signed the contract?
I watched the news. What positions were occupied, what cities were taken, what cities were retaken. Well, basically that's all. I watched the news about Donetsk and about Lugansk, as they say, Republic. I saw that they were being shelled there and that life was bad there. I heard that we need to help our brotherly people, the Russian-speaking people. They showed that they were being greatly oppressed there. They are forbidden to even speak Russian.
Which of these at the moment do you consider to be true and false?
Well, we were based in the Lugansk region, and to be honest, we didn't have to communicate with the local population, because we were near a village that was close to us. We went to shops in the regional center, where we exchanged a few words with the sellers. Some wanted us to quickly push the front line further. Some told us to get out of here and insulted us. People's opinions were different. Some supported us, others were against us.
That is like in any country, there are different people with different opinions.
Yes, different people, different opinions. To be honest, I also have 2 opinions about this operation now. Firstly, in Russia they tell us that everything is bad in Ukraine, that everyone here is Nazis, Banderitas, and so on. Open Nazism here. But I didn't encounter this here. Naturally, we got what we deserved when we were taken prisoner. It's natural. This is when we were simply transported from one point to another. When I was taken prisoner, I know the call sign of this man and what unit he is in.
What's the call sign?
Call sign Kamaz. The unit is called Kraken. We were thrown onto the Kraken.
Kamaz from the Kraken division is handsome.
Yes. I don't know whether they will condemn me in Russia for what I say or not. I want to say a big hello to this soldier. I already wished him a speedy recovery. He was wounded. I'm grateful to him for keeping me alive and giving me the opportunity to get here. The first thing that struck me when I was captured was their attitude towards us. In general, we are enemies, but the attitude is not like that. Initially, of course, I was tied up, but soon they untied me. First of all, they gave me water, they feed me, they gave me smoke. And you know, there was no negativity. I was not insulted in any way. They talked to me calmly, as if there was no war. We communicated like Ukrainians and Russians used to. When I was transferred to the basement, there were also many Ukrainian guys there. Guys from different cities simply communicated without negativity towards me.
Well?
Nobody insulted me in any way. They asked me where I was from, why and why here.
Yeah. This is about denazification announced by your Führer. Yes?
Well, in good way, yes, but in general, I don't know how to do it right.
Not for good and not for bad. Be specific. Putin announced some kind of denazification. This was one of the slogans, or rather one of the goals of the SMO. Allegedly, it is necessary to attack Ukraine because denazification is taking place. The fight against the Nazis.
Yes, fighting the Nazis and helping the two republics gain independence.
We will now talk to you separately about the republics and in some details. Can we close the topic about the Nazis?
I didn't see any Nazis. I haven't seen them. I didn't see a single Nazi here. The soldiers here are just like us. If this happens in our country, it would be the same. They also stood up and began to defend themselves.
Yes. But still you... say... soldiers like us, just like you. But what's the difference?
You are fighting for your country, and we came here, it turns out.
It turns out.
Well, that's how they present it to us.
So how else can this be presented?
Well, they tell us that there are bad people here, and Donetsk and Lugansk are on Russia's side. They are good and they need help.
It's clear. Now let's talk about protecting this population. I'll ask you questions.
Yes,
and you
sure.
try to give answers. How much money has Russia spent on this war so far, at least approximately?
I can guess it has spent... I can tell you how many people it spent.
Let's talk about people.
I think 300,000 for sure.
Yeah, and the money?
This amount of money is difficult to count.
Forbes did the math. But these calculations were in August. The year before last.
This amount can be multiplied by 5 times.
The amount was about $180 billion. I don't know if this needs to be multiplied by 5, but in the same August, Putin announced that he was doubling the cost of this operation. In total, we received such an amount that the people you wanted to protect could build a fantastic dream city and move them all there. Do you think the territory of Russia allows for the construction for such a city?
I think yes.
This is the city of Marinka. Now I want to show you Marinka before the liberation. The most important thing for a person is that there is peace, that loved ones are happy, that they can see their children and grandchildren. If you ask any person in Marinka, what do you need to be happy? The first thing the person will answer is peace. There is silence now. Silence is so quiet. We even got used to falling asleep to the cannonade. They sing in the evening. Even in the evenings, people sit on benches and young people go around talking to each other. And this makes me very happy. We are making a daring attack. There is no one in front. No cars, no people. This is the banner of victory. What can you say about this? It's difficult to comment. So what is there to comment on? These are documented facts. The city was bombed. If we talk about purely technical things that are understandable to everyone, if you're already planning to protect the territory of Donetsk and Lugansk regions that allegedly asked you to do so, well, stand there and defend. They just want to pull the front line further from the borders of the Donetsk and Lugansk regions. There was not even such an attempt. There was not even such an attempt. Pull back the front line? Where should it pulled? Well, whatever would bomb less. What would bomb less? Fine. And what does Zaporozhye and Kherson regions have to do with it, in this case? Well... Did someone ask you something there too? Well, Kherson region, as I understand it, most likely because of Crimea. It turns out that it can also be justified. Kherson region because of Crimea. Let's move on. It means in order Crimea, Kherson regions, Zaporozhye regions, Donetsk and Lugansk regions, right? It turns out that you need to push back the front line so that it doesn't bomb here. Then you need to push it back again so that it doesn't bomb here. Then you need to cross the Dnieper after Zaporozhye so that Zaporozhye doesn't bomb. Does this ever end somewhere?
To be honest, I cannot answer this question. I don't know what our government is up to. And everything that is happening now, that we are supposedly conquering and holding many positions, we simply need to stop. We need to end this thing. That is why many people die for no apparent reason.
Let's continue. So where is the protection?
It's gone.
What does this even have to do with it? How can such thing be justified in any way?
There are no excuses. There is simply no excuses for this. For example, this will definitely not be shown to us in the Russian news.
Won't they show it on your news?
I found this unlikely.
They won't show you this specifically on your news, but on your news they openly show that it's necessary to bomb Ukraine and wipe it off the face of the earth. This is shown.
They are showing that they are striking the Lugansk region, the Donetsk People's Republic, that they are bombing Russian territory that are nearby, and that they are supposedly responding to that.
Do you understand what's going on? Before you invaded the Donetsk and Lugansk regions in 2014, no missiles flew there.
It's difficult for me to talk about the Donetsk and Lugansk regions at the time of 2014 because I haven't seen it and don't know.
No,
but,
because you weren't interested.
Why not? We watch the news all the time. We were shown it on TV all the time. They bombed there, they bombed there, they launched a missile strike there. Well, when I talked with people who lived in the Donetsk region at that time, from the words of one guy, I learned that missiles were flying at them from the direction of Ukraine, but there were no Russian soldiers there. That is, this was told by a person who at that time lived in the Donetsk region.
Well, how does he know where there were Russian soldiers there or not?
Well, I don't know this. I didn't ask much about it.
Fine. Next question. If Russia, throughout all this time, wanted to protect Donbass, then why did it 11 times impose a ban on the proposal to introduce UN peacekeepers into the temporary occupied territories?
Repeat where exactly?
To the occupied areas of Donetsk and Lugansk regions, it was proposed 11 times to send peacekeepers there. Russia vetoed this 11 times. The last time was on the eve of a full-scale invasion.
Maybe they wanted to show that we ourselves can help.
Did the person you spoke with fight?
Don't know.
Did he want to fight?
Yes.
Oh, this is a separate case. Because there are many people your age and older who did not want to fight. Russia simply gave them weapons and told them to go fight. Forced mobilization. Is this also protection? There were students, videos with them are on my channel, just like the video with you. They were taken from training, given a machine gun, given a uniform, and sent to fight. And they didn't want to fight. Nobody bombed them. They just studied.
Why then the Russian soldiers entered? Did the residents accept them?
Are you sure that Russian soldiers were absolutely joyfully received there?
Yes, in many cities they were happy about it.
How do you know this?
Again, the guys I met at the front told me, and some civilians told us when we arrived at the regional center. That is, they greeted us joyfully.
I'll show you a couple of videos now. There is a lot of footage of people saying that they are being shelled by Russian or by militias, right?
Opinions differ.
Yes, opinions differ. Do you know how many people fled there after the arrival of Russia in 2014?
I saw how many refugees appeared in our city.
And you too.
I understand when refugees are women and children, but when healthy men arrive, it's strange.
According to the UN, in the east of Ukraine as of mid-April 2015, the number of internally displaced person from the to the non-occupied part of Ukraine amounted to 1,228,000. Of this, 154,000 are children, and they are only internally displaced persons. According to State Statistics of Ukraine, at the beginning of 2014, 3.9 million people lived in the current territory of the temporary occupied lands. If we round up, then out of 4 million people, there are almost 1.5 million internally displaced persons who fled what was happening. These are only those who moved around Ukraine. Another part went to Europe. Another part went to Belarus and yes, to Russia too. And opinions really differ. And yes, there are probably those who either sympathize with Russia or have already been thought to sympathize with Russia. Because they don't give insulin to people, they don't give humanitarian aid if they don't take a passport, and they are already forced to sympathize with her. The meaning is very simple. Until the Russian military was there, it was one of the most prosperous regions of Ukraine. People lived there beautifully and did not have any global problems. That's the point. Do you know this comedian? Donetsk and Lugansk were territory, I insist, of a foreign state. When we had a terrible war in Chechnya, well, imagine if Saudi Arabia got there. If only their entire Arab world would come there with understanding that Muslim brothers are being oppressed, what would you say? Conflict of a foreign state. The conflict in Lugansk and Donetsk would not have happened if not for Russia. If they're saying here it's an internal conflict, they have already agreed to all this. Everyone annually agreed, starting with the famous Mr. Girkin and ending with Putin, who said, yes, there were our soldiers. We went to save our people. Russian speakers, you have now spent a huge amount of billions of rubles and already dollars on this war. With all this money, you could take all Russian speakers of Donetsk and Lugansk, build them some kind of dream city, and settle them all there, employ them, build road there, run high-speed trains. Why I haven't launched an online counter yet how much money is being spent on war at this particular moment? You could simply run a high-speed train between every big city in Russia, between everyone. People would only be happy. This is a summary of what I told you about.
In general, they don't show a lot of things, and the truth is practically never told, as well as about our losses. Nowhere did they say that 300,000 were killed. They said that we have minimal losses, everything is minimal. And in the end, when I saw with my own eyes what was happening in battle on the front line, I paused and crawled over the corpses of Russian soldiers who were simply covering the fields. I also thought about who will take these guys from there. This, of course, is not told or shown to us. Because of this, of course, it's offensive and unpleasant. Because we were simply left there. They simply loaded us on and said, go there, fortification there somewhere, they need to be captured. There are no escape routes, no evacuation, there is nothing at all. They just draw us into traps from which we can no longer get out. When we asked for help, they didn't give it to us. And from the moment I was captured, it was October 19, all those commanders were still in their places. This has surprised me. About 4 days ago, I met a military man who told me this. He also served under contract. We are from the same unit. He was captured a month and a half after I ended up here. Those who commanded us commanded them. They have sent thousands of people to their deaths, and now they send in more. For this I am very offended and unpleasant.
If you knew in advance what was going on here, would you sign the contract?
No.
Is the theory broken?
Yes. We were told that Ukrainian soldiers are weak-willed. If you put a little pressure on them, they will give in. I've never seen anything like this. When there are 6 people and 30 people... when 30 people stand against 6 and 30 people lost the battle, this is of course scary. When just 6 people defeated 30 people, and this is all done in a circle. Spinning, 6 people change with them all the time. And another group of Russians of 30 people comes to them. This group was simply defeated, and that's all. Of course, there are some nuances there. They have good trenches, reliable dugouts, and serious machine gunners. But it turns out that we were thrown into a bar field. We need to dig trenches and, at the same time, fight back. We must try to occupy the dugouts.
Okay, let's make sure this isn't chaotic. Tell your story consistently from the moment you signed the contract.
Sign a contract?
Also say 2 words about your motivation. You signed the contract thinking that you were doing some good deed.
Yes.
Which one exactly?
What I am going to protect.
Protect, it's clear. We have already discussed all this. You have already said that if you had known, you would not have signed the contract. Now tell us about the technical aspects.
Signed the contract. After that, 3 days passed and I was sent, it turns out, to the Lugansk region in LPR. They were sent to the village of the Tishkovka. We were based there and trained there. We were getting ready. No one told us what exactly they were preparing for. They didn't say what we would do, what our task would be. We were a reserve. We were considered as a reserve. About a month later, we just came from the training ground and were suddenly... In the morning we began to suspect something, to understand that something was happening, because they started collecting our documents, write down current and future positions. But again, they wrote it down without seals. The company commander simply wrote it down on a piece of paper and that's it. For example, I'm a deputy platoon commander. I don't know whether I'm listed somewhere in the headquarters.
I'll find out from your wife now. Let's move on.
Well, it turns out...
Don't forget to ask her.
We were just suddenly loaded onto the truck. They fully equipped us with cartridges, grenades and everything. They told me to leave. They sent us near Svatova. We stayed there for several weeks. And then it turns out they came for us to take us to the front, to Sofivka. When they came for us, I didn't tell my relative that I had left to fight, that I was going to the front. I said there would be no contact for a long time. I said that we were being taken to the rear, so that they weren't worried about it, they weren't nervous. We were brought there. I was the deputy platoon commander, commanded the 2nd platoon. They brought us and took us to the headquarters. They introduced us to maps and the like. The next day we all had to go back. We had to start training again. We had to study these areas and so on. Suddenly the 1st platoon was told board an armored military vehicle. They took some guys from the 2nd platoon there, and they were simply taken away to storm the landings. At night after this day, it was already clear that almost nothing was left of this group. The commander died.
How did you understand this?
We heard conversation through the walkie-talkie. We heard the guys asking for help. They fought back and they reported that the company commander had died. Then they gave me a magazine for machine guns. This was when new groups were sent to land and tried to evacuate someone there. And this store was right in the call sign of my friend. We lived in the same dugout. It looks like he was evacuated. And it turns out that after about a day, while other groups were sent there and they died, they wanted to reform us and send us somewhere else, but we didn't have time. We were given the command to get into the armored vehicle. 30 people, 2nd platoon reserve. Well, the order was to set off. We were loaded, it turns out. When we went there, several tanks accompanied us because it was impossible to get there. Drove up to...
How many of you were there?
30.
30.
2 full armored personnel carriers. Everyone was sitting on the armor. No one was allowed to sit inside because it would be impossible to get out in the event of an armor hit. When we approached the landing, a machine gunner was already firing at us. There was a machine gunner on the left side and there was one on the right. Sounds of bullets were heard. We started shooting back accordingly. We jumped off the armored personnel carrier, started noticing guys getting hit and killed. One guy was screaming to be finished, shot in the head. He was covered in blood.
Killed?
No, we tried to pull him aside and provide assistance, inject with a painkiller. Those who ran made a big contribution to the defeat of our detachment there. Especially old people and alcoholics who signed the contract because they had nowhere to live. They didn't understand where they would end up at all.
Well...
And then they started shooting at us with everything they could. Firstly, are a lot of Ukrainian drones with fragmentation grenades. Then it turns out a tank hit us. There was also something that sounded like aviation because there was a noise overhead like an airplane flying and then a big explosion. Well, it turned out that we were divided into several subgroups for this planting. We couldn't get together because we had no connection with each other. When we tried to move toward the guys, we were immediately shot at. We could even assume that they were shooting at their own. Because without connection, without communication, it was not clear. In general, nothing was clear. As a result, I was left with the wounded man. There was another man with me. We provided assistance to the wounded man. His hand was very badly injured. Put a tourniquet on him and numbered him. And the next day the group comes. We spent the night there and part of the group came and said they were alive. We thought they were dead. Well, in general, we all got together, found a walkie-talkie and contacted the command.
How many of you were there?
There were probably about 10 of us left. Contacted the command. We were again ordered to go on the offensive. We are starting to attack again. We are being beaten back. We advance. We are repulsed. The drones begin to operate. We ask our own artillery for assistance. The artillery is moronic and hitting in a completely different direction.
It's okay, you can...
Greetings to all artillerymen. Well, in the end, brutally speaking, only the 2 of us remain alive, me and another man. Elon is now here in the camp. He somehow managed to get out of there, after all. And he came to the village we were supposed to storm after storming the landing. No one knows how he got there. Well, in the end, we were left alone. There was a small trench dug to full height. We climbed up there and the drone started throwing shells at us. First he hung in the air.
10 of you climbed into the trench?
No, it's just there 2 of us.
And the rest died?
Yes. Cluster munitions arrived and cut everyone. The drone started hitting us. He dropped something. At first I thought it was a brick because it hit me right on the helmet. And then he dropped something a second time and it explodes right above his head. I'm jumping out of this trench. I pull out the second person with me and we start to run away. We found a tree and dug a trench under it and they sat under a tree. Then they discovered us again and started fighting at us again. We again began to run away in the other direction and noted the barrel of machine guns in the darkness, about 6 pieces. That's how we ran into the Ukrainian positions. Of course, I had 1 grenade with me. I had the idea of throwing it at them, but at the same time we ourselves would have been torn to shreds. Well, it turns out a colleague who was with me was wounded. A shootout began. I still didn't understand who was shooting at whom. I did not see our military. I saw that Ukrainian soldiers were shooting at someone. And this man was wounded, Mikhail Sergeyevich Marin. He is from Moscow.
Didn't he make it?
He didn't make it. I helped him the bandage, I applied a tourniquet, he cried at you, began to talk about his family, about his wife. I told him to be patient for a little while, that soon there would be some action, that they would move either to the left or to the right, and I could drag him to the side. When my brother, a colleague, started crying, he shouted that we were there and we were giving up. I told him again that we don't have to do this, that we have to be patient. He started screaming even louder and we were discovered. We were from Ukrainians.
Wait, you're telling me that you came out at gunpoint?
Well, yes, but we hide. They were 15 meters from us. They didn't notice us. We lay there until about 3 hours.
And after he started screaming, they found him.
They say, get up, come out. I threw my machine gun aside, came out. They also told my colleague to get out. He replied that he was wounded and could not. Well, we were captured. It turns out that the Ukrainian evacuation group was not called. They should have come with a stretcher.
Well, yes.
In order to pick up me and pick him up too. I offered to carry it myself. I would tolerate it, no big deal. On adrenaline, I could have easily graduated him away. And at that moment, a Ukrainian fighter who was a group commander was wounded. He needed a stretcher. And my companion was just left in the landing. They said they would take him away, but when they came back, he was already frozen and bleeding.
Well...
When I return home, I would like to find his wife, chat with her, because it's unknown whether they told her that he died or didn't tell her. Whether he is listed somewhere or not, no one knows. Moreover, there are enough guys here who were buried.
In fact, finding a person knowing their last name, first name and middle name, city of residence, and all the other data you have is not a big problem. It's easy. Your wife can do this. Let's call her. Good afternoon. My name is Vladimir. I'm a journalist from Ukraine. Your husband is in our captivity. Do you want to talk to him?
Yes,
The
sure.
conversation is being recorded for publication. I hand over the phone.
Fine. Tell me, is it possible if my sister is
Certainly.
nearby?
If she doesn't,
Hi, everybody.
unless
Hello.
she's a child.
How are you?
How are you?
Everything is fine.
Don't cry, it's gonna be okay. We're fine too. The girls are fine, they're their grandmothers now.
Are you waiting there?
Certainly. Of course, we did everything.
Tell me, please, when did you find out that I was captured?
What?
When did you find out that I was captured?
October 20. Yes, we got a call from your telegram.
Hello, Dad, Mom, hello, everyone.
Hello. Hello. Well, then you and I received a telegram on the 20th, right? October 20. We immediately started writing to all organizations.
And what do our organizations say there?
Everything is fine, everything is moving, don't worry. We gained everything very quickly. Already in number they confirmed your status. You've gained weight.
Don't worry, everything is actually good. We are not being harmed here. We are in a camp. I work in a dining room kitchen as a cook. I'm a senior cook. Can I give a phone number so they can call?
What the phone number?
There was a guy with me. It's not known how he is. It's not known where the relatives know or not.
Can you name the names of the people who died? Beside, what did you call?
Marian Mikhail Sergeyevich.
And besides him?
To be honest, I don't know. I had them written down in my notebook, but I don't
Do you
remember.
know Abodin Dima?
Aborin Jim, I know him.
Little one.
Aborin?
Do you know what's wrong with him?
He died.
Abodin
He
or
died.
Aborin?
There are only two of us left.
Because his wife wrote he still hasn't found him.
Tell his wife that he was in the first platoon. I was in the second platoon. When their platoon went to the south, they were all bombed. Perhaps about 5 people were evacuated. About 5 were evacuated, the rest all died. Everyone died during the landing. Then they sent our second platoon. 3 people remained from the second platoon.
By the way, your friend wrote to us, Denis. He said
Is he alive?
he was in the hospital, probably already home. He was the first to call
I
us.
leave him a...
Called on the 14th.
I leave him a
the
phone number.
15th, and after that, Vova, we started looking for you. 15th of October.
Call him and convey my gratitude.
We already told him, he already knows that you're in captivity, because we kept in touch with him. He also helped look for you. He said that, he says, I know that only 4 people from my platoon are alive. They're in the hospital. He said he didn't know anything about the others.
Which one of
we
us
started
is still
looking for
alive?
you. We don't know their names or call signs. We only know this. What is his name? Denis, Google, that's all. To be honest, they didn't even ask.
It's clear.
Well, in general, in fact, we found the wives, sisters of all those guys who were with you. We created a general chat, we communicated there, but no one has found anyone
In
yet.
general, we will say this. 90% of all, no more. They all died. And it turns out that our command gave up this territory. The Ukrainians moved closer by 20 kilometers. It is unlikely that they will be evacuated and brought here. So that's it.
Well, this is what Denis told us. He says there are 4
Where
people
was it?
there with me, and that's it.
Lugansk, somewhere near Kupiansk.
Not far from Kupiansk.
Village Ivanovka. So here it is.
What exact direction were you in? We were looking for you in Svatova.
No, not in Svatova. We were heading toward the Kharkov direction.
Well, you told us that you are in
We were
Svatova.
based there for 3 days, and they took us from near Svatova, it turns out, to Ivanovka. Where is Denis?
The fact is that it seems to me that this is no longer the Donetsk region, but the Kharkov region.
Which Denis?
Ryabov.
Google.
Ryabov.
Ryabov is wounded and at home, but he most likely has already gone back.
Gone back to war?
He has a shrapnel wound. He had a shrapnel wound. He had to... On December 5th, he was wounded. He stayed at home, and on January 3rd, he had to go back. But I didn't correspond with him anymore, didn't ask.
It's clear.
He stayed at home for a week or 2 and had to go back.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Have you talked to this Ryabov?
Yes,
Oh,
this is our
also
daughter's
your daughter's
godfather.
godfather.
This is not the first Denis, this is a
That's
different Denis.
not the point. The point is that this person was already at home, received medical care, and probably could have stayed at home.
He said that he was not seriously injured.
The point is not whether the injury is serious or not. The point is that he has already been to war. He has already seen everything, and again he went to the war. With what source?
He
With what
told
motivation?
me he was going back to the war, but I can't state whether he left or not. But he said that he was ordered to go back to the unit after a little vacation, after rehabilitation.
Answer a simple question. All these people you say were not found. Why did they die?
Don't know. I can't answer that. Everyone had their own goal.
Fine. What is the overall goal? Common goal of Russia. What is the common goal of Russians? To die and kill Ukrainians. What is this goal?
I can't answer this question. I don't know.
And if your husband died, what would he die for?
For our country.
Don't you think that your country has its own territories? Your country is not in the Kharkov region.
Don't know.
Have you thought about this?
To be honest, I'm just glad my husband is
I
alive.
have no doubt about this. I have no doubt about this.
But I can't answer the rest of your
But
questions.
just in case, I'll tell you why Ukrainians either hate you or treat you with contempt. Because there are 140 million stupid people who are ready to send their husbands, fathers, children to kill other people in a foreign country and don't think about it all. This is something for you to think about.